Hello again, fellow Mystery Files. Today I have a viewer requested video from a long time now, but I am finally ranking every Agatha Christie play. Now, these are plays written by Agatha Christie, not by other people, so certain ones will be missing, Alibi being one of them. I'm only including Christie written plays. And this is a bit weird because these plays are available to us in many forms. We have the scripts, we have the novelized versions, we have productions themselves. And to be consistent here, I am mostly assessing the content here because I have access to these in many different forms, and I don't want to assess like an actor's performance because that varies. Now, I did take into consideration a little bit contemporary reviews of the play, just a little bit, because I think that is somewhat important because these are meant to be performed and we don't have recorded performances for some of these for me to review. And I did not let that affect my assessment in a major way. It did factor in like a little bit here and there, despite me having like an aversion to people's opinions. But in some of these, we only have the script. And, you do get a different impression, reading a script than you can seeing a play or hearing a play. But we have 20 plays to go through, 15 stage plays, 4 radio plays, and 1 television play. And I don't go into a lot of detail here because I understand a lot of these may be unfamiliar to most of you. So I don't want to give anything away, but there are some spoilers ahead. Some of these do change the ending from the novel they're based on, and I think it's worth discussing that, but I will warn you when it is coming. And no, I will not be spoiling the mousetrap, and don't you dare either in the comments. But before I begin, make sure you like and subscribe to keep up to date with the channel. And if you didn't see, I recently started a Discord channel where, we can expand this community and have discussions amongst ourselves. A link to the Discord channel will be in the description for this video. And if you want to join, just click and invite and you'll be in. Starting out at the bottom, at number 20, the worst Christie play is pretty clear to me, and that is Fiddlers III, Christie's final play. And this is a play from the 1970s, and it comes with all the issues Christie novels from the 1970s do, and that it's just not well written. Now, this play was cleaned up a bit, so it's not as disastrous as I think it probably was originally. Christie's daughter was against this play because apparently the original form was not great, but the script that we can read and that is available to us is fine. I don't think this is a particularly great play. It's a dark comedy about a group of young people who try to hide a body, but then they find out the body is a murder victim. And there's some inheritance shenanigans. The concept is a little fun, but I don't think Christie was the right playwright for this. I think it avoids the absolute worst case scenario, but it's not particularly good or memorable. I suspect there's probably a lot of people who've never heard of this play before. I just couldn't justify putting this play above any of the other ones, so Fiddlers 3 comes in at number 20. At number 19 is one of many plays that are adaptations of a novel, and that is Go Back for Murder, which is the stage version of Five Little Pigs. And I'd be honest, I just did not like this one. I mean, Poirot has been removed, as he often is in these plays, but I thought he was absolutely necessary in this case. I know this is a novel that's not great for Poirot content, but removing him, I think, reveals just how necessary he is. Much of the investigation is done by Carla herself and a lawyer named Justin Fogg. And to me, the stage play really stripped the story of everything that was good about it. It is just so dull and unprofound. It beggars belief why Christie did this or thought it was acceptable. There's a lot of Carla and her fiance as well. It actually reminded me a lot of Emily Trefusis's story from The Sitter for Mystery, but only here it wasn't good. And I just found a lot of the story just boring and shallow. I did not care for it at all. So Go Back for Murder comes in at number 19. At number 18, and I can't even believe this one is this high, but that is Chimneys, which was a stage play of The Secret of Chimneys. And this play is from 1931, but it has a really odd publication history. So this is technically the most recent Christie play to make a debut, which it did in 2006. And not a fan here. I am not a fan of The Secret of Chimneys, and this is a condensed version of that novel. And to be fair, I actually think the play is probably better than the novel, just because there's less of it. And there's nothing truly wrong with this play other than that it's just not for me. I do not like this play. I do not like the novel. And I don't think that, again, again, there's not a lot of things to like criticize here other than the plot. It's just not interesting, which I've already done many times on this channel. So this Chimneys comes in at number 18. At number 17, another stage adaptation of a novel that falls well short, and that is Murder on the Nile, which is, of course, Death on the Nile. Again, no Poirot here, and a lot of just condensing of characters and plot, and it's done in a way that's just, like, really uninteresting, and it doesn't even feel like Death on the Nile. I mean, a lot of the characters' names have been changed. At least there's no Rickety subplot. This is one where the quality of the play is just so much worse than the novel. This play was also not well received by critics of the day and had a very short run. I don't think this one has a lot going for it. The reason why I have it above the others so far is because I think there are at least like excuses for the quality of it. I mean, the novel has a lot of characters and a lot of things going on, and that does need to be chopped down for the stage. But the right decisions were not made here. It does have somewhat of a viable excuse, and I just think like Death on the Nile is a fun story anyway, even though I did not find this play very entertaining. But it's not a great play here, so it comes in at number 17. At number 16, and this was a play I did not know what to do with, if I'm being honest. I did have it higher up, but that's only because I only had the script, and that is Yellow Iris. And for me, this is probably the one I let the critics' reviews influence my decision the most, because I think the script is fine. I think it works well. I think the story is fleshed out. But this was the radio play, and there is no existent recording of the radio play, so I cannot listen to it. But apparently it was a flop because there was just so much music and it overwhelmed the actors and created a bad play where you couldn't even hear what was going on. And I did sort of defer to the critics because I cannot listen to the play. And I felt this criticism was important enough to note and influence my opinion. Again, I would have put this higher had I not done any research into it. I do feel like maybe I should have just gone with my own opinion. I did not know what to do with this. And again, there are like videos and recordings out there that proclaim to be the Yellow Iris radio play. They are not. And I've noticed there's a lot of like AI sort of like audio books of Christie and out there, especially of the short stories and the plays. Those are not real. Do not listen to them. You should be able to identify what they are. But again, there is no recording of Yellow Iris. And because of that, it lands somewhat lower than my initial instinct here at number 16. At number 15, another play I had no idea what to do with, and that is Christie's only non-mystery or mystery-adjacent play, and that is Agneton. I believe this play has never been produced professionally. It seems to be something Christie wrote more for her own enthusiasm than like a serious attempt to get it made. It's set in ancient Egypt and it tells the story of the pharaoh Agneton and his wife Nefertiti and the future King Tut. And I will say, I enjoyed this play. I mean, we all know Christie loved archaeology and ancient Egypt, and she really knows her stuff. And it's just low just because this is not what we expect from an Agatha Christie play, so I sort of just, like, put it above the bad ones. I also only have, like, the written version, and I'm not sure how well this play would translate on the stage. In fact, Charles Osborne, who is, like, one of the leading experts on Christie plays, and wrote some of the novelization versions of the play, suspects this play is just like too complicated logistically to be produced. And I would have to agree. There's a lot of characters, there's a lot of scenes. I also like never revisit this play. Like I've read it like once. I have no interest in reading it again. But it was perfectly fine. But again, it's not what we expect from Christie, so I put it here at number 15. At number 14, I think this is where we're starting to get into better plays, and here we have two original radio plays in a row, starting with Butter in a Lordly Dish. And for many years, this radio play was considered lost, but it has been found. You can listen to it, and it is worth the listen. Now, I think what stands out the most to me here is the ending. Again, I won't spoil the ending. The ending is fantastic and very well done. To be honest, I do find a lot of the things going on before then not terribly engaging. Not that it's not interesting, but again, it's not the most riveting content out there. And when I was debating between this one and the one at number 13, that was sort of the deciding factor. Also, these two plays simply are not, like, full stories, not like fully fleshed out. The other plays have a lot more content in them because these were short radio plays. They're under a half hour. I felt like I couldn't place them higher, but I do love the reference to Jael and Sisera in this play. And if you're familiar with that story, you're sort of anticipating something going on here. And I found this play just delightfully gruesome, but I felt I couldn't place it any higher than number 14. At number 13, another radio play, Personal Call. And this radio play is readily available online to listen to if you want to. It is worth it. And like butter in a lordly dish, I do feel that's just simply not full of enough content to warrant a higher placing. But this play focuses on a woman named Pam Brent, whose husband James has been receiving a lot of mysterious calls from a woman named Faye. I think the concept here is so interesting, and I love Christie's use of the supernatural. This is a bit of a supernaturally one, and not overly so. And I appreciate the simplicity of this play. And simplicity does not mean easy or plain or boring. This is a good play. I recommend listening to it. The ending is very dramatic, as these radio plays tend to be. And we also have the return of Inspector Narracott from the Sittaford mystery. I have to be honest, I did not know that was him until I researched for this video. But Personal Call is definitely one of the lesser known Christies out there. I think it's a hidden gem, definitely worth to listen to, and it comes in here at number 13. At number 12, the only TV play on the list, and that is Wasps Nest. And Christie hated the TV. She did not like seeing her works on television, but she did write this play, and there is no recording of it, which makes assessing this one difficult. But we do have the script version, and Christie kept Poirot in this one. Usually she would remove Poirot for the stage because she couldn't stand Poirot, and it's good. It's basically very similar to the short story, which is why I have it this high. I did contemplate putting this one near Yellow Iris, which we also have no recording of. But the reason why I didn't is because this received good reviews from the contemporary critics, and I'm sort of forced to trust their judgment. I also enjoyed the script of this one more. Poirot was played by Francis Sullivan. This was not Sullivan's first go as Poirot. So overall, this is a good play, but because I can't see the full extent of it, I couldn't place it any higher than here at number 12. At number 11, another less well-known stage play in Verdict. In my opinion, a Verdict is sort of similar to what I think about like Butter in a Lordly Dish and Personal Call, where I think they are good but not great, with some enjoyable and dramatic moments. The difference is Verdict has the benefit of being a stage play, and this is fully fleshed out. There's more content offered. It's of equally good content, so that means it winds up a few spots higher. And this is an inverted mystery and sort of a psychological experiment, I suppose. It's very enjoyable. It's almost a comedy, as many of these stage plays tend to be, like when things get out of hand, sort of. And I read the script, and there are amateur productions you can watch on YouTube and elsewhere, but the video quality was bad, so I didn't bother. And I would like to see this one in a professional, or at least like a community production. I definitely think it's a good play. It's not an all-time great, and to be honest, it wasn't well received by critics, but I personally liked it, so Verdict comes in at number 11. At number 10 is a familiar story, I'm sure, and that is Three Blind Mice. And I'm not going to spend much time on this one, since we all know this was expanded into The Mousetrap, which is higher up on this list, obviously. And I actually really enjoyed this play. The script is available to read, despite what is claimed. I know they say there's no script existing. There is. I have it. You can buy it online. And the script was published, at least in the US. I know the short story is not published in the UK, and probably never will, as long as The Mousetrap is still running. And I just want to say here that I have this at number 10 because it is more or less an abridged version of The Mousetrap, so that makes sense to me to have it lower. So I sort of put it like lower down. Just again, some good ones above it. I'm not sure exactly what exact place this should be, but number 10 felt appropriate for Three Blind Mice. At number 9, and I did debate over this one, and that is Toward Zero. I personally did not really enjoy the written stage play as much as I think other people do. I don't know why. I didn't connect with it in the way I expected it to, But still, I did sort of defer a bit to the critics here who loved the stage play. It did end its run in 1958, but I have seen this produced at a local theater, and I thought it was fine. Although I think, to be honest, they probably adapted the book more so than the play. I don't know. I think something was missing, and it didn't sort of have like the same zest the novel has. But still, I think this because it's an adaptation of a novel, and it doesn't really have any flaws, and it has a lot of good content, and it has good reviews. I did sort of defer a little bit and put towards zero here at number 9. At number 8, sort of a similar thing with The Hollow. And again, no Poirot here, but I feel like Poirot is very extraneous in the novel, so his absence for me wasn't noticed that much. We have Inspector Colquhoun, similarly to Towards Zero. There's something about this play that like just doesn't connect with me, without me being able to identify specifically what it is. And to be honest, I've never been the biggest fan of The Hollow to begin with. I know it's very popular, but again, not for me. But I think The Hollow's greatest strength is wonderful characters who I don't feel come across as good as they do in the novel. They are a little subdued here, not so much so that it warrants like a lower placement, but I feel like we do miss out on some of the better moments. It's also a very long play, and it does have the same solution as the book, but the ending is a bit different. Overall, though, again, this is a good play. There's nothing like truly wrong with it, which is why I have it, The Hollow, here at number 8. At number 7, and now I think we're in the top tier of Christie plays, starting out with one I'm sure a lot of people are familiar with, and that is And Then There Were None. And if you've not seen the play or read the play, it is extremely similar to a lot of the early film adaptations. It is faithful to the novel up until the end, and the play is fantastic, just as the novel is. Again, the ending, though, and spoiler alert, Christie changed the ending so Vera is innocent and then Lombard isn't really Lombard, and they both live happily ever after they confront Wargrave, who does die. And I understand she changed it, one, just because the book ending wouldn't work that well on stage, and two, the play debuted in the midst of World War II, and Christie thought the audience needed a happier ending. But to me, this is not a happy book. This is a dark, psychologically demanding novel. The novel is perfection, and I've always found the ending of this a bit cheesy, to be honest. Again, and I also think there are issues in the plot because of the ending here, but the rest of the play is spectacular. The ending is a big knock, though, so And Then There Were None comes in at number 7. At number 6, and these next three are actually the three plays I always think of when someone says Christie plays. These are all original plays, not adapted from other works, and to me, that makes them special. And at number 6, we have the one original Poirot play, Black Coffee. And I really enjoy Black Coffee. This is the first play of Christie's I ever read. This was Christie's first play. And it's good. It's a bit zany and a little wacky, and it's all around a lot of fun. Now, I don't necessarily think the plot is like the most ingenious ever, but that also doesn't matter as much to me because the play is entertaining in a way a novel isn't. But that is why I don't have this one any higher. It involves a murder, obviously, a theft of a formula for atomic explosives. It's a lot of fun. And if you ever watched a production of this, it's pretty notable for like all the characters like coming in onto the stage and leaving the stage, and there's so many doors as well. There's a lot of doors on the set of this one. And we have like Hastings, which is something. Overall, this is a very fun play. I highly recommend it. And Black Coffee comes in at number 6. At number 5 is another pretty fun play, and that is Spider's Web. And as the title suggests, it's a play involving a murder, but that web gets weaved and everybody gets entangled in it in an almost farcical way. It's very similar, actually, to like Mr. Priestley's Problem by Anthony Barclay, only this one actually is a mystery, but events get so out of hand, it becomes distracting to solve the murder, and that's a compliment. This play is fantastic. It's actually Christie's second most successful play based on original run. Clarissa is a very convincing heroine and protagonist. She really makes the show with her antics and dramatics. I find this play almost extremely clever. I do tend to think like sometimes a stage play limits like the mystery mechanics given its nature, but Christie really nails it here. She knows how to write for the stage, and I just find the whole script and the production fantastic. But we are at a point in this list where everything is really good, and something has to go in this slot, so Spider's Web comes in at number 5. At number 4, the highest ranked original Christie play that is, one not adapted from another work, and that is The Unexpected Guest. And I have so much affection for The Unexpected Guest. In college, I was forced to take theater history as my performing arts class, and I did my final report on The Unexpected Guest. And, my professor tried to deter me from doing that. He was not thrilled I chose Agatha Christie as a playwright, but you know what? Tough noogies she is. But I didn't listen to him. I did the report anyway, and I got an A. And no one, not one mention of Agatha Christie in that class outside of my report. And there were students who had never heard of Agatha Christie before. Absolutely appalling. But again, that just adds to my love of The Unexpected Guest. This is another sort of farcical play that's not really the right word, I guess, but it's another sort of like funny one. There is a murder and a cover up, and that leads to like just a lot of shenanigans. And to me, this one is running even with Spider's Web, but my personal affection for this play does sort of break the tie in The Unexpected Guest's favor. I love the character of Michael Starkweather, who aids Laura Warwick in covering up her husband's murder, in which she has more or less been caught red-handed. There's more to the story than that. I just love the twists and the turns of this one. It's funny, it's dramatic, it's suspenseful. It does everything. It run the gamut of emotions here. So The Unexpected Guest comes in at number 4. At number 3, a play based on a novel, and that is Appointment with Death. And I've heard a lot from several of you talking about the play version of this novel, specifically for the ending. And if I'm being honest, I think the change in the ending to this play makes the entire play better than the novel. And I love the novel. And, spoiler alert, I am going to spoil the play here because this is my main talking point. But Christie changed the murderer. In fact, there technically is no murderer because now Mrs. Boynton has committed suicide, and she has left little clues implicating her family members with the hope that her family will turn on each other so she can keep her psychological torture going from beyond the grave. And this is so satisfying. It really makes the play so much better than the novel. It makes Mrs. Boynton so much more evil, and it works to a satisfying degree. It's chef's kiss, and it makes more sense than the novel. And Lady Westholme is still present, but she is innocent and she is heavy on the comedic relief. I mean, she is a little bit comedic relief in the novel, and she's all out that here. And the play is just so good. I think it really ties everything together. And I should also mention this play has a little bit of famous lore to it. Joan Hickson was in the original run of the play as Miss Price. Now, this is the play that allegedly caused Christie to tell Joan Hickson that one day she hoped Joan Hickson would play Miss Marple. Did this really happen? I'm doubtful. I mean, Joan Hickson was only in her late 30s at this time, so I don't know why Christie would see her and think, oh, you look like Miss Marple. But, it's a nice legend, so why not? I can pretend it happened. But Appointment with Death is such a fantastic play, and it comes in at number 3. At number 2, and these top 2 were always the obvious choices in my opinion, and I'm not sure how popular my decision is here, but at number 2, I did put The Mousetrap, which is the longest running play in the world and has been running continuously since 1952 with over 30,000 shows, COVID shutdown not included. And obviously, The Mousetrap is an iconic play. It's an icon of British culture. It is an expansion of Three Blind Mice, and it's a truly fantastic play. I will not spoil anything about this play, and you better not either. And, that is what the audience is asked to do at the end of the performance. And I find The Mousetrap to be such a classic of detective fiction from its snow trap setting and all the wonderful characters and the twists. The reveal is classic. It's almost like one of those endings that's so classic, basically everyone knows it anyway, but we're not going to talk about it. And I don't even want to spoil this even a little bit for anyone, but, just know this is a fantastic production. It's iconic. But I do think the number 1 play is just a little bit better. And, The Mousetrap is running continuously, basically, in London. But, there are productions of this all over the world. So, again, you don't have to go to London to see it. I'm sure a local community theater nearby you has put this on either recently or in the near future. Again, it's very popular in the winter time around Christmas and the holidays. But again, I don't know if putting The Mousetrap at number 2 is controversial or not. I don't know of what people think, but that's my opinion. So I did put The Mousetrap at number 2. And at number one, the greatest Christie play, in my opinion, is Witness for the Prosecution. And this story has appeared in many, many forms, and I think the play version is the most iconic and the best version of the story. It is a courtroom drama just so perfect for the stage, and you need a truly great cast to pull this off. The role of Romaine, or Christine as she may be called, is especially key. And like I said earlier, I find this play better than The Mousetrap. It's more dramatic, it's more mysterious, it's more twisty. I think The Mousetrap probably does suffer a bit from like over popularity and overuse and ubiquity, but the Witness for the Prosecution is everything I expect from a mystery story, a courtroom drama, and a stage play. Again, this play does have a different ending from the original short story. To be honest, I think both are very satisfactory, but the play ending is my favorite, and it works better for the stage. The thrill of the ending is so good when you consider like everything building up to it. It's so suspenseful. I'm always on the edge of my seat whenever I see a production of it, and I know what's happening. I mean, to me, Witness for the Prosecution was always going to be number one for quality purposes. I know The Mousetrap is probably more iconic and definitely more famous, but I do think The Witness for the Prosecution comes out on top at number one. And that is it for this video. Let me know in the comments what you think about the plays of Agatha Christie and my ranking here. Again, I did not want to spoil a lot because I know a lot of people may not have seen or read some of these. But anyway, next week I am back with my discussion of will these Christie works possible in 2025, and I will be discussing whether or not the Miss Marple short stories are, and that would be all of them. That would be the 13 Problems and the other stories sort of scattered about the Christie universe in various collections. So stay tuned for that. And don't forget to check out the Discord server. Again, a lot of discussions going on there. I'm glad it's been active. I thought I might struggle to get people into Discord, but apparently not. So if you're not already in, make sure you join. It is free. I don't necessarily monitor the Discord a lot. Again, just letting the conversation flow between all of you, and I chime in sometimes. But until next time, Mystery Files.